Hello everybody. I think we're live and hopefully you can hear me. So since last week we had a bit of a problem. Before I get going with all my stuff, maybe let me know that you are actually hearing me. And I hope you guys are okay. And some countries like my own, where I live in Barcelona, we are back to being confined into our studios, which is not as bad as some people have it. But I know some of you are not having a great time right now. So hopefully these videos will help you out, keep you busy and distract you a little bit and give you something to do with your guitar. Hello, Marish. Hello, you're in Massachusetts, is that right? Welcome. Hello, Bertie. How are you? Nice to see you again. Well, you too. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you guys always here. I'm sure we're going to have some of the old usual friends. Alex is going to show up probably in Dragit. People from all over the world, as a matter of fact. And so welcome to today's masterclass. Hello, Alex. Hello. So I assume you can hear me because nobody's raising any flags. And last week it was a problem with something with syncing, which I have no idea what happened. But OBS was receiving the audio, but YouTube did not. Okay, so it's all good now. You can probably hear myself and the guitar, and maybe we'll play a little keyboard later to show the chords. And Bo Bismarck, hello. Guillermo, hello, Guillermo. So we have people from all over the world already. That's great. Thanks, everybody. It's good to see you all. Thank you for being here. Great. Okay. Yeah, Wyoming. Hello, Jenny. Yes, Jenny, I hope, didn't you ask me a questions about the scales in the masterclass? I hope that helped. If I'm looking at that screen, is because I have your questions there. But yeah, Jenny, it's good to see you again. Well, it's good to see so many of you who are back for the master classes. Hello, that is Art. All right, how's it going? Yes, confined. Yes. Well, I hope you're all okay, and you all live in very beautiful places too. So hang in there, and then it will all go away soon. As long as you're safe and your family is healthy, there's really not much we can complain about, right? We have our guitar, and we have these videos, which are a small thing, but maybe they will help. All right, so before we get going, let me just introduce this for the new people who watch this later. And if you're new here and you haven't joined the chat, please feel free to do so. They're all a bunch of nice people. And so the master classes are usually about theory or technique. Sometimes it's chords, sometimes it's composition. And these master classes usually are on a topic that I pick, or sometimes people in the chat or in the comment section, they choose it for me. And then I do this live master class, which usually lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. Then I open it up for questions, so you can ask any questions you want. They can be related to the masterclass or not. I don't mind, whatever you want to do. And that's it. And then we do this every Saturday. And we do it Saturday at 6:30 Central European Time. And every week I try to give a shout out to all the countries of people who follow me. And so today we're going to say that it is true, actually. Every Saturday at 1:30 in the morning, that's a Sunday at 1:30 in the morning in Tokyo, Japan. That's where we're live. And otherwise, 11:30 a.m. in Houston, Texas. All right, so if you're in those two cities, I know you guys are there. So that's it. And if you want to give a shout out to your country or city, please let me know in the comments or in the chat, and I'll be happy to just research what time zone it is. So if you're everywhere else in the world, then find whatever your time is, but it's always at the same time, 6:30 Central European Time, which is Barcelona time. That's where I'm living. Okay, so why are we doing oh, by the way, and Tuesdays, if you're new, on Tuesdays there's another series of videos which are not live. They're pre-recorded, and they're about mainly compositional things, but applied to a real song. Sometimes it's technique, but usually it's some kind of musical idea that is applied to a song from one of my records, and you can hear actually how I apply it to the song. It doesn't mean you have to like the song or copy the song or anything like that. It just means that you can see that it's not just something that people came up with just to make a video, but it's actually in use in a song, and that I think can be extremely helpful to get you going, if you are trying to figure out how to do this thing of writing songs. And that's it, yeah, because I see a lot of people complaining about copyright, right? There's a big thing with copyright on YouTube right now, which hopefully I'm kind of immune to because I just use my own songs, and that fixes everything, yeah. All right, so for today we're going to talk about seventh chords, and you all know about them, and maybe we can get just a little bit deeper. You know, it's not going to be an extremely complicated lesson, but I think it's going to be fun and interesting. I'll give you a few tips, right, and a few of the things that I enjoy most about these chords. The good thing about seventh chords is that, to me, they give an extra dimension to the regular major and minor chords. So major and minor chords, or diminished, you know, augmented, you know, regular triads, they have obviously 3 notes. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you my great, again, OBS skills, because today I'm not being kicked out by OBS, so I'm going to use it. So there is a C major chord. You see it has 3 notes, and these notes are C, E, and G. Now for this masterclass, I will have to assume you know your basic triads. If you don't know them, don't worry, you can still follow the video, and some things might not make too much sense, but you can just kind of trust me with them, you know, and go along with the video. And then eventually, if you want to research a little bit of the stuff you're missing, you can just go ahead and do it. But all I'm teaching today holds true, you know, no matter if you know the basics or not, it's true, right? It is actual sound musical information, so you can use it. So I assume today that you know, or at least you trust me with, the harmonic progression of a basic diatonic scale. So if you're in major scales, you have 7 notes, which are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, of course. And for each note, there's a chord, and these chords are major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Okay, actually, there's a few of my master classes that will help you with it, especially one on the major modes. Okay, that's going to be very useful, and I'll have a link when this is done. I'll post it. Okay, but this is it. So if you have a major scale in C, you have a chord for each of these 7 notes, and these chords are in the following order: C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C. Okay, that's the basic idea. And the thing about 7 chords is that we're going to add a different note on top of this triad. So 7 chords are really regular triads with an extra note, and I like to call them like a 4D, right? Because there's an extra dimension. You'll hear it, and I'll point it out to you. And I think they're extremely useful chords. So the main idea here, and we're going to look at the diminished, so don't worry about it. But the main thing really is the 2 main groups are major and minor chords, right? There's a major section, which is C major. You have it here on the screen, and then there's C minor, and then there's the 7th note. And the 7th note is the note that comes right before the root. So if I'm playing a C, and I hope you can hear the guitar, I can't turn my speakers on because otherwise I get feedback into my microphone, and so I'm flying blind. But this is the C on the guitar. The major 7th, the note that is called major 7th, it's an interval, and that's the note right before the root. So it's a B. And then you have the minor 7th, which is the note before the major 7th, so a whole step before the root. That's all you need to know today to do 7th chords, right? So if I go up the scale, this is a B right before the C, and this is a major 7th, and the one right before it, it's a minor 7th. So there's these 2 7ths, right? In C, we have a B natural and a B flat, and we can combine this B natural and the B flat with the major chords or the minor chords, and of course diminished and augmented. But we'll set a limit to what we're doing today later. Okay, so that's the main thing. And I think 7 chords are really extremely important, and they open up many doors to substitutions. To, you know, we did a whole video on a masterclass on secondary dominant. So they open up a lot of doors. But today we're going to focus mainly, not only, but mainly on diatonic, which means that are the ones you're going to use when you harmonize a major, minor scale or any of the modes. Okay, so let's start with C major here. There, C major. C major is, of course, the basic major chord. And as you can see in the score here, if you can't read it, don't worry about it. I'll just say the notes out loud, so it's really easy. You have a C, an E, and a G. Okay, so on the guitar, literally, you're playing this: C, E, and G. Okay, this is your major chord. Now, if you're used to playing the guitar, but you're not really well versed in theory, you might say, well, but when I play C major, I play many more than 3 strings, right? I play more than 3 notes. You're playing more strings, but you're not playing more notes. You're still only playing a C, an E, and a G. That's all you're playing, all right? You might think you're playing more notes, but really, you're just repeating certain notes. So when you play a C major chord, you're only playing C, E, and G, all right? Now, I'll move on because I know you guys are great at music already, so this is a bit too basic for you. But let's take then this first chord. I get it wrong all the time. It's here. We take this C major chord, and we can add either a major 7th or a minor 7th. We can add a B or a B flat. Let's start with the first one, which is just adding a B. And here I have the formula for it. You can see it's the same chord as before with a B on top. And it's a beautiful chord, and if I play it just as it's written, it sounds like this. All right, so you can hear the difference between a regular major chord and a major 7th chord, right? It's a lot more mellow. To me, the major 7th chord is a bit less major. I don't know what you feel about it. Let me know. You know, I'm reading the comments. I can't interrupt, but I will, of course, any questions I'll answer at the end. But to me, the major 7th chord is a chord that I use when I want something to sound major still, but a bit more sophisticated and not just as happy as a regular C major. And that, you know, to me, it happens pretty often because with instrumental music, you have to play to your strengths, right? You don't want to give it all away, for example, at the beginning. You want to be more, a bit more ambiguous sometimes. So to me, it's a great chord. And this chord works for the first chord on the major scale, so in C major, and it will also work on F, right? So in the series of C major chords, you'll get the first degree is C major 7th, and the 4th degree is F major 7th. Let me just play it for you a little bit. Let me see if I can make this work, right? I have a little keyboard here. I can play a C major 7th chord. And then I can play on top of it, but I'm flying blind, so I don't know what I will play, but let me just give me at least a little bit of volume. And it goes like this, right? Better. It's a beautiful chord, and it's also available to other scales. You can play different scales with this chord. You can play Lydian. There's many scales that go with it, but you see how it sounds lush. It sounds more complex, and I think it's a beautiful chord. It's a beautiful chord, and it's called the major 7th chord, and you can use it on the 1st degree and on the 4th degree of your major scales. All right. So in C major, you can play it on C, and then you can play it on F. And I'm going to show you a few shapes actually that I enjoy most. One of them that I really like is the basic one. Right? This is one of my favorites, just a C major without the index finger. It's a beautiful chord, and again, I use it all the time. But there's many voicings I like. I like almost all voicings of this chord. You know, there's the basic ones, but I also enjoy some of the inversions. This is the one I like the most. Isn't it beautiful? Again, of course, no tabs with me. You can just look at it, you know, listen to it, and just play it on your guitar later. You see that? This is an inversion of it. This is the first inversion, so that means we put the E as the bass. And the reason I like it, I think, is because it sits between C major and E minor. It really sounds like an E minor flat 6 chord, but it is made up of the right notes, of these notes you have there. And maybe you recognize... Wait, how was it? Yeah. So it's a beautiful chord. You can find all kinds of inversions. My suggestion is you pick a chord book and play all of them, because it's really a great chord. Anyway, let's continue. If you have questions, please feel free to write them down. Let's continue with the other option. So we start again with the C major chord. There you go. And now, instead of adding a B natural, we're going to add the flat 7 or the minor 7th or the B flat. And this is the formula for it. All right, so Same as the major chord, plus a B flat on top, and it sounds like, I'm gonna play like here, like that. Okay, it's, or like this, you've seen it, or like this, or like this. There's so many ways to play it, right? Very important chord. This chord is extremely edgy to me, and of course if you're playing the blues, it's fine. This chord, you can play it all day, right? Because it's the basis of the blues, and I have no issue with it in the blues. But it's also incredibly important in diatonic harmony, which means in harmony based on the major minor scale, and even beyond that. And as we said last time, it pushes extremely strongly towards the root. So it pushes towards, if we're in C7, in G7, it pushes towards the 1. And to me, it just sounds too strong. It sounds extremely strong. It sounds almost a caricature. So I barely use it. You know, I don't really use it in my compositions unless they're blues-based. If it's based on the blues, you know, some more of a bluesy song, of course I play them. But otherwise, I find it really hard to place them because they scream at you, right? I don't know why, but I have some solutions for it. I'm saving them for later. But this is an extremely useful chord. It opens up a whole bunch of things for harmony, you know, like the secondary dominants and all kinds of stuff. But you know, it's a great chord. You have to know it. You cannot go without this chord. And this chord is built on the 5th degree of the scale. Okay, so on the G, if we're in C, C, D, E, F, G. The G chord in C major is a G7. So for now, we have a C and an F, which are based on the major 7th chord, and the G, which is based on the 7th chord, dominant. This is what this chord is called. Okay, so this is, I think, pretty easy, and what I suggest is that you don't stop at knowing the chord. You should do kind of like what I just said and find out for yourself what the sound of these chords is to you. Like, what does it sound like to you? You know, it's extremely important. And then you'll know when to use them. They're just different colors. And the other important thing about these kind of chords, 7th chords, is that when you go deeper into chords with, you know, extensions like 9s and 11s and 13s and even the sus chords, they're all kind of based on triads and 4-note chords like these ones. So it's extremely important that you cannot go without 7th chords, all right? So learn them and also decide for yourself what it is you like and you don't like about them, you know, that kind of stuff. It's extremely important, right? You have to know what you're doing. And the 7th chord, this chord, is of course very good. Let me try this again. I'm going to play now a C7 chord, right? And it's extremely good for many things, but as we said, there's the blues, right? So I can play. Right? We can play Mixolydian scales. Okay? And many other things. It's a beautiful chord, but to me it sounds so specific. Forgive the bland improvisation, but I can't hear anything. So. And I don't want to have headphones because I don't want to touch any cables now that everything's working. So forgive the bland improvisation. You know, I'm sure you can do much better at home, but I do my best. Let's move on. Let's move on to this guy here. We have to kind of move it along because we don't want to be here for 3 hours. This is a minor chord, right? A very simple C minor chord. And it sounds like this. Doesn't get any easier. Again, there are many ways you can play this chord, right? They're all C minors. There's so many of them, I don't even know where to start. And it's a beautiful chord. I love minor chords. They're incredibly suggestive to me, and they are so open to different scales over them. I think more than major. You know, major kind of locks you in a little bit more, but minor chords really admit so many scales. There are so many modes that are useful to the minor scale. to the minor chords, and I enjoy them very much. As a matter of fact, I think when I just start improvising, a lot of time I just end up in minor and then I move around. But going back to the basic idea, which is this chord here, this C minor, the minor chord is the chord that in a major scale belongs to the degrees 2, 3, and 6. So going back to our chords, C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor. So you see how these three, D, E, and A, they're all minor chords, right? So they fall on the second, on the third, and on the sixth degree of the scale. And the great news about this is that they all become this chord, okay? The major chord, we had to kind of add the major seventh for some chords and the minor seventh for some chords. But for now, at least, this is the only chord you need. So it's a minor chord. You can see the first three notes there. And then you have that flat seventh, the B flat, which means it's a note one whole step before the root. And it's a beautiful chord again. And it sounds like this. So when we compare it to the regular minor chord, the minor chord is very descriptive again. And it's kind of sad, right? And the minor 7 is a bit more ambiguous. To me, it's the same thing, and I don't want to spoil it for you, so please take this with a grain of salt, what I'm saying. Make up your own mind about the sound of these chords, but I'm just going to share what I feel about them. And to me, the minor chord is extremely specific, even though it's open to interpretation with the scale, but the sound of the chord is specific. And to me, the minor 7th chord does what the major 7th chord did to the major chord. It makes it less so, right? So if the minor chord is very minor, the minor 7th chord kind of dilutes it a little bit. You know, it makes it a bit more uncertain and subtle. And I really enjoy it. And it's another chord that I play all the time. As a matter of fact, as soon as I go to a minor chord, I usually try my minor 7th because I find it beautiful and extremely versatile. So the formula for this chord is C, E flat, G, which is the minor chord, plus a B flat. Okay, and again, there are many ways to play this chord. And they're all beautiful, actually. You know, all of them. There's so many, and you can learn a few of them, and they're extremely useful. So these chords belong to the degrees 2, 3, and 6, which means are the basis for Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian, which is the minor mode. And if you're new to this, please refer back to my previous videos on the minor modes. It seems like I'm doing this on purpose. I have all my bases covered. Let me play a minor chord for you on my keyboard, and a minor 7th, okay? I'm playing this chord right here, and it's like this. And then I'm gonna improvise, and you'll see how I can move from the minor scale, okay? I can go from, I'm gonna play C minor, nothing else. Right? But I can also move to different scales. I can play the regular diatonic modes, Dorian. Then I can play, this note is not actually in there. It's, then I can play Phrygian. Right? I don't know what I'm playing, but I think it's the right notes. And I can play the pentatonic scales over here. This is a strange pentatonic, but I can play it. It's kind of a mode of the pentatonic scale. I can play all kinds of stuff. And so the good thing about it is you can play all these modes, but you can also play some exotic sounding stuff. So I can do all kinds of crazy stuff because this chord is at the root of so many modes. And we're going to get a little deeper with it in a little while, but know this chord, all right? I'm going to show you some of my favorite positions, and I didn't do that with the 7th chord, but you can figure them out for yourself. the clean sound. And some of the ones I like most, well, of the simpler ones, this is pretty cool. Nothing wrong with this, right? I enjoy this one a lot because I can move to different chords with this. What else do I like? Just all of them. Oh, this one is nice. Like that. So it's 10, 12, 11, 11. And you notice all these chords, as soon as you add a seventh, they become more open to interpretation. You could take this chord and see it as a different chord. For example, as an E flat, because it has E flat, G, and B flat. That's an E flat major chord plus a C, which is a sixth. So this is also an E flat 6 chord. And so the reason it's interesting is that they become more ambiguous the more notes you put in them, these chords. But the seventh chords are still very much part of the scale, so they do sound like what they're meant to sound like. But you can twist them. You can make these sound, this C minor 7, I can make it sound like an E flat chord as long as I, as I do that, I think. And I can make you think that I'm playing that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 across the 8th fret, like that one. I don't know what you're saying, but it must be. Did I do something wrong? I might have. All right, I have to figure out how to hear myself without everything feeding back. Anyway, minor 7th chord, learn it, study it, know it. All right, it's a beautiful chord and extremely useful. And so the final chord that we find in the major scale is this one, right? Because we said we have major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, and the last one is a diminished chord. And these, oh, okay, yeah, you meant the chord, yeah. Yeah, I like that one too. It's easy, right? And this chord here is the B diminished. I'm doing everything in C for this video, but this is the diminished chord. And the diminished chord is a strange chord and it's kind of dissonant. I'm gonna play it in C now. It's quite dissonant. It's kind of hard to place unless you're playing with a very clean tone. Forget it with distortion. And you kind of have to have a clear progression of chords to make it work. So it's kind of a strange chord to use, but the good thing is that when you do the 7th version of this, which means we take this chord and we add the flat 7, the minor 7th, and we end up with this chord, which is called the C minor 7th flat 5 or half diminished chord. It's just a diminished chord with a minor 7th. So when I play this, it sounds a lot more mellow than the regular triad version. So the great thing about it is that while the triad version of a diminished chord is kind of hard to place and people usually ignore it, when you learn how to play your half diminished chord, you actually learn how to use it because you can actually put it into chord progressions. And the reason is that when you add this note here, I'm gonna do it in B, okay? Just because they're all natural. B, F, A, D, that's the chord. When you put this A in there, you're giving the chord a fifth because it didn't have it. It's a diminished chord. It has a diminished fifth, and that sounds strange to your ear, and you don't like it. But giving you this A gives you an interval of a fifth between the A and the D. D, E, F, G, A, right? That's a fifth, and you finally get a fifth, and your ear says, okay, well, this sounds a lot better. You know, it sounds easier to play to place than a regular diminished. Okay, so this one is actually a lot more useful, and I suggest you learn in a few positions. This is the one I like. I enjoy this a lot. I also like, let's see, I like to bring it up here as a minor 7th, and then just take the 5th and lowering it. In B will be here. Gets a beautiful chord too. And what else? I don't know, these two maybe, these two, there's a few of them really, but they're all good, you know, you just have to learn them. And so how will you use this? Well, for example, let's say you want to play Locrian, right, which is a scale that nobody plays, and it sounds like this, the chord. And on the guitar, it sounds pretty strange and hard to place, but listen how it sounds on the keyboard. I think you're hearing it, right? And so if I played, did I play C? Yeah, C diminished, C minor 7 flat 5. So you see it's a lot more useful now because it has this shift and it goes towards a more consonant chord. All right, so again, now this wraps up the first part, and we're not going to go on forever, don't worry about it, but this wraps up the first part because we looked at all the possible chords of a major scale. And if we do the major scale, it means that it also works for all the minor scales and all the Dorian, Phrygian, you know, all the regular diatonic modes. So to summarize, the basic chord progression in triads of a major scale is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and you go back to 1. When we use seventh chords, so when we add a seventh to these chords, we end up with major seventh, minor seventh, minor seventh, major seventh, seventh or dominant, minor seventh, half diminished or minor 7 flat 5, and C, major 7. Okay, C, so everything we did today you can use just with the regular major scale. Okay, you don't have to worry too much about this, but now we're going to go a bit further, just a little bit, because you notice how, for example, with the major chord, we said, well, let's add a major seventh to this major chord, but let's also add a minor seventh to this major chord. But if you remember, in the minor chords, we only added the minor seventh. So does it mean it's not possible to add a major seventh to a minor chord? Well, of course it's possible. It's actually necessary in some other scales, like the harmonic minor and the melodic minor, and there's other scales that require it. So I'm going to show it to you because I like to be a completist. I want to do everything, right? So let's have a look at that. So this is the basic chord, C minor, C, E flat, G, of course. And let's add a major seventh to it. Okay, so we have C, E flat, G, and B. Right? It's pretty cool. Yeah? So this chord is the chord that's used, as I said, in any minor scale that has a shift of a note towards, you know, a shift up. In this case, I'm thinking of the minor and the harmonic minor and the melodic minor. And these scales have their minor, but they have a sharp seventh, so a major seventh. So if you want to harmonize a minor chord, but the scale has a major seventh, you have to have a seventh that agrees with the scale. So this chord is the one you'll use. And I'm going to play it for you on the keyboard, and then I'm going to show you a few scales that work with it. It's pretty cool. So let's play a minor chord with a natural B. So it goes like this. And I could play just a regular. This is the harmonic minor. I could play also the melodic minor, which sounds a bit more normal. Like that. I could play all kinds of chords of scale as long as they agree with these 4 notes. And I can go a bit crazier. So I can do all kinds of. See, I'm just playing the same thing so you can hear it, but it's some chromatic stuff. I can do all kinds of stuff, and this chord works with it because it's so strange sounding. And you remember that I said in one of the older videos that major is the hardest thing to play on, because we are so in tune and attuned to the major sound that every time we play a major song and we screw up one note, your brain goes, it goes crazy. And I always say that the easier songs I have that are in major are the ones that I'm scared of the most when I play live, because I know if I hit a wrong note, everybody will know. If you hit a wrong note or a strange exotic note with this chord, it's not such a big deal because it's open. It sounds so strange and it sounds so different, okay? So it's a chord that I suggest you learn. It's pretty easy. Any chord you know that's a minor seventh, you can add, a minor seven, just change the seventh, right? Just find the seventh you're playing. Where's the B? So you find a B flat, you change it to a natural B and you'll find it. It's pretty easy to find, and you don't really have to study. If you know your minor seventh chord, this is a piece of cake, all right? But it sounds really advanced, so it makes you look like you know more than you do. Another note or chord that you should know is this one, and we had a whole masterclass, or half of it, based on these chords, and this is a diminished seventh chord. Now, this is a diminished chord like the one we saw before, but it has a diminished seventh too, so it's one whole step lower. So in C would be like this. And it's an extremely important chord, not found in the regular scales, but it is used, for example, is the seventh chord of harmonic minor. Right? It's a very classical sounding progression, extremely useful chord, but it's too big of a deal to deal with today. So I'm just going to show you how it works, play you a couple of examples, and there's so much about it. And we got into it with the secondary dominants a little bit. One day we'll do a whole masterclass on these, but the idea of these chords, they're symmetrical, so all the notes, they're the same distance, one from the other. So that means that every note you see on this score here, they're all the roots. They're all roots. So you can see it as a C diminished seventh, as an E flat diminished seventh, as a G flat diminished seventh, as a B double flat, or A diminished seventh. And it sounds like this. Here's my favorite fingerings for it. I like to have at least one on each set of strings. So on the sixth string, you can find it out for yourself. I play slow. No tabs, you know me. Then I like to have one here. And I think you should have one on the high strings too. So here's an example. All right, so extremely useful chord beyond what we're talking about today, but you should know it. And it's a seventh chord. So. And that's it. Finally, before we get to your questions, I see there's a few comments. I'll get to them. Before we finish, let me just give you one more, which is this one. Remember I said that I don't like playing a regular dominant chord in a chord progression. I just find it too obvious. And this chord is one that I really like. So the basic idea is you take a seventh chord, which is, I'm going to play it in C, okay? So I'm playing these notes there, which are C, F. No, what am I playing? I'm playing the normal one. I'm playing a regular C7. I'm playing C, E, G, and B flat. And I said I have a bit of a problem with this because unless I'm playing the blues, it's too strong. And what I like to do is take the third note, which is the E, and get rid of it and replace it with the fourth note, which is an F. So in G, it still pushes towards the root, but it's softer. And I have a song in the record in Fill the Sky, it's called Memories, and it's a chord progression that uses it. I'm going to play it for you if I can remember. It's C major, E minor 7th. This is an F9, and then look at this chord. So you see, it still resolves to C, but it's softer. And I really enjoy this chord. There's many ways you can play it. Again, how you have to find them, study them, of course. But you can take any dominant chord, like C7th, find the E, and bring it up a half step. It works with all of them, right? So if I have this one, bring this E here up a half step, and it works. And it's a great chord, extremely useful, and I suggest you study it. There's a few of these, you know, a bit more mellow than the regular dominant. All right, I think I'm done. How long have we been going for? 40 minutes? Yeah, is it too much stuff? Am I going too fast? You know, if I'm open to suggestions. If there's anything you don't like about these videos or you really like, you know, let me know, because I'm in a vacuum here. And so, yeah. Let me go through your questions if there's any. And feel free to add. Now I'm going to look at the chat, and as always, we're going to open it up for questions, and I'll be happy to help you with anything you need. All right. That is art, it's confined, things open and close. All right, yeah. Great. And thank you everybody for your nice comments. I appreciate them. Pink index, middle ring, try that. Yeah, oh, one thing, yeah, maybe you haven't, there's one thing you should know, okay? The minor 7th chord, this one. I see people sometimes go crazy with it because they play like this. And, you know, the middle finger is the longest finger in your hand, and it should be the one you put on the 6th string. Don't do that. That is going to drive you crazy. You could do this. It's a lot of work too, but do not do this. You will hurt your fingers. So remember, middle finger up here, and the ring finger takes care of the other notes. All right? Don't do that. I see so many times. You know, it's impossible, and it's the easiest chord you can play. But like this, it's really impossible. So make sure you do that, all right? Do you usually mute, wait, hold on. That is art. Do you usually mute the muted strings, or you just not play them? Maybe both. Yes, I do whatever I need to do, but let's see if I can maybe bring it up just a little bit so I can hear myself. See, it's already feeding back. All right, so if I'm playing like this one, I need to be able to play them. I could play with my finger and not worry about it, but this string here, I'm not playing it, so you have to mute it. But one thing you have to take care of is that when you mute a string, depending where you mute it, you have all these harmonics. If you watch this week's Inside the Song is about artificial harmonics, next week's is going to be about natural harmonics. About Planet Nine's intro. And you see, if you mute the string, you have to be very mindful that you're not muting close to a harmonic, otherwise you'll hear that ring. And so you kind of have to move around and figure it out for yourself. But really, this finger is extremely important, you know, the one that is above the note you're muting. And this hand is extremely important. Don't just play like that, you know. If you play a note that is muted, maybe soften up your pick a little bit when you hit it, so you don't hear it. But I'm playing the 6th string pretty hard, then I'm going really soft on the 5th and hard again on the other 4. So you kind of have to figure it out for yourself. But it's a good question, and there's not a good answer for it, really. You just have to play a lot and adapt, you know. Depending, like, hard to play 10, 12, 11. Okay, that's another one that, yeah, it's true. Who is it? Jenny. Jenny, I see this a lot. Okay, so you don't have to do this. Let's do it down here. You don't have to do it like this if you don't want to. You can play like this. Sometimes there are reasons to play like this, but usually you can just get away with playing normally like this, all fingers, then you don't get hurt. Okay, you will get used to this eventually, but you don't need to. Andrew, I'm stuck and cannot move on with improvisations. Bo says, how to get over it? Okay, Bo, I think this might be too big of a question. If you can you narrow it down for something a bit more specific? Otherwise, I'll make sure to get to it in a different masterclass. We'll talk about improvisation. But if you have a more specific question, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, it's a bit hard to, you know, give advice. But I'll wait for your, maybe just narrow it down just a little bit for me and I'll help you out, okay? Minor major 7 sounds spooky. Yes, it sounds pretty cool actually. And the dominant chord sounds like a Stone song. It's true. Well, that's what I was saying. If you're playing bluesy kind of music, it's great. it's just hard to place into a more normal kind of song. You know, if you play like a rock song or pop, you know, it gets pretty hard. It gets to me, some people like it, you know, but when I hear it even on the radio or on a record, I go like, oh, there he goes, the seventh chord. And then amazing, great. Well, thank you all for your things. And CSAS 4333011. Yes, that sounds pretty good too. Yeah, like this. Yeah, maybe I wouldn't put the G up here because it's a bit of a confusing chord already. So you know, you can get rid of that G there. You don't need it, and it sounds a bit more defined. So Bo, if you want to get into it, the improvisation thing, I would certainly help you. Otherwise, just try to find inspiration in somebody you like. I don't know what kind of music you enjoy, if you like guitar players or not, or well, you probably do, but listen to music, you know, and I wouldn't say copy songs, but I would say the feel of the song. You know, maybe try to write a little bit of music. What I find usually people who don't improvise, not too well, but what I mean to say is they're not comfortable improvising, is that first of all, they rarely improvise. So they're sitting in their home or in the studio, and that's not improvising. You know, improvising is you go out there and you play with people. And so, you know, that's extremely important. And the other thing I do, okay, well, that's great. If you're doing that, Bo, I would suggest you start writing music instead of improvising. And you can just write music from improvisation, and that helps a lot. So you just sit down with no purpose. You're not sitting down thinking I'm going to write the best song I've ever written, but you do sit down and you start playing with the idea of not just noodling around, but to focus on something. So to narrowing things down, you start improvising, but you go, okay, well, as soon as I find something I like, I'm going to follow that path, right? So you just go blind, but as soon as you hear something you like, you just kind of steer that way and follow it. And slowly, unfortunately, pretty slowly, but it will tune your ear to recognize worthwhile things to follow, and it will help you a lot with improvisation, so much so that eventually it will be automatic. So you'll be playing and you'll be like, okay, I know what I want to hear, and I know that all these other roads, they're not going to get me there because I've tried it at home 1,000 times or with people. And so it's extremely useful. And the fact that you move on from improvisation and you actually write some music with it is even more important, because otherwise improvisation, as long as it's not recorded, it's kind of sad to say, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, at least I don't. I have, as all musicians, you know, we all have a lot of self-doubt, and it's easier sometimes to just go like, okay, well, I'll just improvise and that's it, because then you don't have to confront the fact that maybe your new song sounds like crap. But if you follow it and you go like, no, I'm going to write it, and maybe it's a bad song, but if that's the best I can come up with today, I'm going to write it, and then tomorrow I'm going to write another one. And that brings the randomness of improvisation, and more than randomness is your lack of, not yours, but I'm not talking, you know, specifically to you, I'm talking about everyone, but your lack of commitment, because commitment is a hard thing to do, because eventually you'll have a song and you have to, you know, you have to be behind that song. It's yours. When you put out a record, of course you think your songs are good, otherwise they wouldn't be on the record, but you open yourself up to you know, that's it. You can't go back and change it. And that's extremely useful. You don't have to put out records, but you do need to sit down and go, okay, what is the best I can do? Because when you write music, that really is the best you can do, because there's no excuse. There's no like, oh, well, I was just noodling around, right? I can get away with it here because I go like, well, I can hear myself. Let me just play some random crappy scales. But eventually, you know, if I put a record out, then what excuse can I have, right? And so it's extremely important, and it will, strangely, composition will greatly improve your improvisation. That and getting out there with people who are better than you and play with them, yeah? And listen to music, you know, listen to what other people are doing. If you enjoy them, they will kind of, you absorb it, you know, it's kind of like a sponge, and eventually will come out. Yeah, okay, I understand, great. I know it's not very specific, but we can get into it more maybe next time, yeah? If you guys are interested, I can do one of these on improvisation. Okay, any more questions? Well, we've been going for about 50 minutes. We're right on time, so I can stay a few minutes more if you want me to, and if you think I can help you. Otherwise, we'll call it a day and continue next week. While I wait for your questions, because there's a bit of a delay, I'm just going to say again, as always, that I appreciate very much all your help, all your support. Really, it's very much appreciated. I know you have a lot of great things to do on Saturday at this time, and you're here, so that means you're extremely motivated to learn, and that's great. And that's why I'm here. If I can help just a little bit, then it's worth it. And remind you, if you haven't done so, if you're new, please do subscribe, hit the bell, because otherwise you will not know when we're live. And if you can like, comment, and all that stuff, it will really help, because that way we'll know this works and I keep going. If it's helpful, I will keep going with this. And what else? That's it. I'll see you, of course, every Saturday and on Tuesdays, but I'm still going to wait if there's anything you need. So thanks for streaming, Andre. Always great to learn guitar, and you teach it well. Great. Peace out. All right. Yeah. Yes, please. Thank you for your time. Love all the cool chord sounds and the theory. Yeah. So yeah, today's masterclass is not very advanced, but I think you can get stuff out of it. As always, please remember, go back, watch it a few times, write down the chords. Okay. So it sounds like we are done. So thank you very much. I'll see you next week. I don't know yet what it's going to be about. So if you have any great ideas, yeah. Oh yeah, my finger, Alex, I burned it in my oven, and it's not that bad, but it looks scary, and I didn't want to go like ugh, and so I'm wearing this for you guys. But yeah, it's good, it works. Please, I will. Okay, Bo. Yes, I will keep giving these masterclasses. Yes, sometimes I just feel that the channel is really it's a lot of work to put into it, and I know you guys appreciate it, and so I'm here. I'm not complaining. But just hopefully it will pick up. The channel will pick up a bit more, and then we can have more people in and more questions, more ideas. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be here, at least for a little while, right? All right, everybody. So thanks again for being here. Keep safe, right? Stay safe, everyone, and you and your families, take care of them. And other than that, just play the guitar, nothing else. All right, see you very soon, and that's it. Bye-bye, everybody. And I'm gonna end it. 3, 2, 1.